So just because IGF1 isn't required for muscle hypertrophy doesn't mean that the other real studly aspect of hormones, growth hormone, isn't involved in muscle mass. We all know it's got to be involved, right? Because our former governor showed us that this is the one thing that he is admitted to taking. And the interesting thing is, here's a piece of just a fun fact for you. At the time that Arnold Schwarzenegger was competing and using growth hormone as a performance enhancing drug, the only source of growth hormone was actually from human cadaveric tissue. So what they would do is they would take the pituitary out of cadavers, out of dead people, and they would extract growth hormone from the pituitary of cadavers. And so one of the biggest side effects of growth hormone at that time was actually the fact that you could get something called Khrushchev-Jakob disease, or what we know as mad cow disease. Again, because anytime you're touching the brain or interacting with the brain, you can get these prion proteins that cause Khrushchev-Jakob. Don't think that the governor has that, but that was the main risk. You can see huge, incredible muscle mass here. The fact that he's taking growth hormone, it's got to be that, right? Maybe not. Well, let's talk about how we can regulate growth hormone. So what you see all over, you go and you can find all of these incredible, nice, expensive pieces of nutrition science where you can go in and, oh, if you take this, it'll increase your growth hormone levels. Or you can go into an anti-aging clinic and they'll inject you with growth hormone. Great. Lovely. It's going to increase your growth hormone. And then even the athletes who take this as a way to recover faster, the growth hormone that is the recombinant growth hormone that's injected is usually gone within hours. Okay, growth hormone can do that. And that's how you can increase growth hormone. Is there another way? Sure. Just do heavy leg exercise. What you can see here is this is the amount of growth hormone, the change from control, using leg press, 2 sets, 4 sets, then doing squats, 2 sets of squats, and then doing 2 sets of knee extension. Again, they did this wrong because it should be small to big in the lower body. So the knee extension should be first to fatigue out the quads, so that when you're doing the leg, and then you should do the leg press because the leg press is more quad than glute. And then you should the squat should be second after the leg extension. And then you should do the leg press because the leg press, if you do it last, you can really get the glute because the quad is already pre-fatigued. All right, but they did it this way. That's fine. There's 2 groups here. Maximum repetitions, that's to go into positive failure. Now let's look at what happens when you go to forced repetitions, when you go into negative failure. So they did 2 sets with either forced repetitions or maximum repetitions, and you can see that the maximum repetitions give you an increase, but the forced repetitions give you a much bigger increase. So if you ever want to do anti-aging by injecting yourself with growth hormone, don't even bother. Just go in, do some work. And what you can see here is if you come across, that's a 60,000% increase. So if you take off the 2 zeros, that's a 600-fold increase in growth hormone. The highest physiological regulator of growth hormone levels in your body is resistance exercise. The bigger the muscle mass, the bigger the stress on the body. The bigger the stress on the body, the bigger the growth hormone response. If you want growth hormone, work your legs hard. All right? So that's my clue for you today. All right. So it's got to be growth hormone. We increase it when we work our legs hard. Well, you should already know that it's not going to be growth hormone that's needed for muscle mass, because all of us have seen those guys around the gym who aren't tough enough, we'll say, or others around the gym who aren't tough enough. So they have these little tiny legs and these huge upper bodies, because you have to be dedicated to work your legs. You can't work your legs, because if you work your legs right, it hurts to sit on the toilet, it hurts to get up, it hurts to move. So you have to really put yourself together and do that. And a lot of people don't do that. So they're not getting the big growth hormone response. They're still getting big muscle mass in the upper body. So you should already have alarm bells going off in the back of your head. All right, but what happens if you actually do this using an experiment? So this is Kevin Yarashevsky at Washington University in St. Louis. And what he did here is he took individuals and he did exercise plus a placebo or exercise plus growth hormone. And what she did is they trained for a significant amount of time here. I think it was 12 weeks. And what you can see is they looked at their fat-free mass and their total body water. So fat-free mass is something like it can be muscle, but it's probably muscle together with bone, because again, growth hormone, one of the big effects of growth hormone is it causes bone growth. Specifically in kids without their long bones fused, they're going to get taller. But in adults who have fused epiphyseal plates, what happens is the small bones of the face and other areas continue to grow. And that's considered fat-free mass. But what you can see is there's a 4.5 kilo increase in fat-free mass with growth hormone, and only 1.6 kilo fat-free mass increase without the growth hormone. But the interesting thing here is that it's a proportional increase with water, and so yeah, you might be getting a little tiny bit more muscle. Actually, it's not a tiny bit. It's an effect, but most of that muscle mass is accompanied by an increase in total body water. So suggesting that most of the reason that the muscle is bigger might be because it's holding a little bit more water. So what happens to protein synthesis? Because again, that's the key. In order for us to increase the amount of protein, because they didn't take biopsies in this experiment. Actually, they did take biopsies. They looked following the 12 weeks. They took biopsies before and after training. And so before training, their growth hormone the exercise and placebo group and the growth hormone group were exactly the same. And after the training, they were still exactly the same. They were within the error of the measures. So it's not increasing muscle protein synthesis. How does it do on strength? It's got to be a big increase in strength though, right? Well, here it is again, exercise plus placebo. If we look at something that's interesting like the knee extensors, so knee extensor force is going up 14% in the placebo group. It's only going up 4% in the exercise group plus growth hormone. The 20% increase in the hamstring strength here with the placebo is only a 10% increase with growth hormone. So maybe you're getting a little bit bigger muscle, but you're not necessarily, you're not changing that into an increase in strength. Even if we look at the concentric strength, you're still equivalent. There's no increase with growth hormone. So you don't increase strength gain. You have a small increase in muscle or fat-free mass, potentially because you're holding more water. What happens with this? What does happen with this is that you get a nice big increase in IGF1. And again, we said that IGF1 wasn't required to make the muscle bigger, and it doesn't even seem like it's sufficient to have higher IGF1 levels. That doesn't, at least circulating, doesn't make your muscle bigger. So what that's telling us is the IGF1 experiment was telling us that it's local production of IGF1. Production of IGF1 around the muscle that can make the muscle bigger. Because I didn't tell you this when I talked to you about the animals with the overexpression of IGF1. Yeah, you had a 47-fold higher level of IGF1 in the muscle. When they took blood from the animals, so they took blood from the heart, what they found is that there was no difference in IGF1 levels in circulating IGF1. So all the IGF1 levels that were produced by that muscle, 47-fold more, were used locally. So by contrast, the serum IGF1 goes up with growth hormone, but it's not enough to increase muscle mass.